So we're back at it again. This time is we're going with my second guest. A few days ago we had our first guest. His name was Ray, and our second guest is my older brother. Introduce yourself, man. What's your name? What school you go to, and how old are you?
What's going on? My name is Blair Young. I'm a 25-year-old student. I'm a senior at Azusa Pacific University. I'm a kinesiology major.
How's that going for you?
It's going good. It's challenging just like the next major, but I'm working my way around it.
So I'm gonna ask you a few questions about how how you see personally how African Americans deal with racism, in the United States. Well, more so how you deal with it and how you see it. So for the audience out there, like I said, this is a few days later after the first podcast uh, with Ray, and if I say anything different, you know why. But we're gonna get into these questions right now, and
Nah,
all
you
I want you
good.
to do is just be honest. I want the people to see how
Okay.
you feel about it, and we're gonna see how you feel things can possibly be changed.
Okay.
So, the first question: how do you feel about growing up black in America? What have you either seen or been through personally that deals with racism?
That's actually a good question. Cause me personally, I've had my experiences just like everybody else. I've had my
Hmm.
experiences, but growing up, I feel like it was fun, but it was also
Okay.
challenging. Cause the fun part of it was, it seemed like everybody was kind of like swagger jacking
Yeah.
our culture, and it's still kind of like that today. Um, but the challenging part of it still is probably, you still can't get around it. Certain places you get certain looks, or even when people meet you, they totally have a perception, or they have a perception already built up of you before they even
Yeah.
speak to you. I can't even tell you how many times that people have told me that, like, oh, I thought you were stuck up, and this is like the first 2 3 minutes of me even talking to this individual. you
So,
know
okay, as a black man, well, obviously the audience doesn't know, but since I'm your brother, I know. You went to Pauley High School.
hmm
Everybody,
I did.
everybody who just grew up in this area, they know Pauley is one of like a known school, but is also surrounded by a lot of gangs, especially in the area that it's
Yeah.
in. So I've known what you've been through, but personally, this is just a sidebar to the first question. How did it feel going to Pauley, knowing not like you were also on the football team, and what I'm trying to ask is, did you have any gang influences? Like, did you ever have a moment where you may have been approached by somebody to try to get into a gang and try to follow down that path instead of like playing ball?
All the time. All the time. Like, even before poly, like growing up, a little bit when you were a little bit smaller, and I was still the youngest kid on the block. uh it was either you gang banged or you played ball. And part of the reason why I chose to be an athlete was because I saw the stupid stuff that our older brother Blake did. Just seeing the repercussions of what he went through, dealing with, peers at school, and then coming home and dealing with consequences with our parents. It kind of was like, I was looking at him at a young age like, dude, stop doing stupid stuff. It's
Hmm.
easy. So I kind of like kept my nose clean with sports. But even in high school, teammates, they were gangbangers, uh, all that other stuff. So there was a lot of that activity around me. But it you know, never really like reeled me in, if that makes sense. But there's definitely a little racial aspect to that too, cause me being like you said
Hmm.
on the football team, and yeah, I go to Poly. Um, Outside of the Poly walls, everybody in that neighborhood looks at me just as another black guy. I'm young, I'm black. I look a certain way and I listen to a certain type of music, so they instantly think of what. And my favorite color is blue
Yeah.
too. Come on now. So it's just like you put all those things together, and that description says something about me. And to the people that are listening, that builds a perspective of me that you have, that and you never even met me. So it's just kind of like there that goes.
A sidebar: our older brother, he was part of a gang, and we're not gonna go too much into that. But long story short, he's a pastor now. He, he's a saved man. But um,
Very much changed.
but I do know, like, even like just walking down the street today, for instance, you just walk down the street and you just happen to be black, you gonna get looked at by like black men specifically because they just gonna size you up. I don't know why. You obviously,
Definitely.
like, I
Out
mean,
here,
obviously
yeah.
you got those few black men who look at you, give you that head nod. Everybody who black know what I'm talking about, but
Oh, what's up,
the little
nod?
head nod, and you just keep it pushing.
And keep it
But
pushing. Yeah.
you got those few people who just look at you, and it starts. Sometimes it starts a problem. Other times it's just like what you looking at.
Yeah.
Moment. But
You kind of got to be careful with
but
that.
have you seen anything or personally that had dealt with racism? Like,
Yeah. Like, I feel like I'll give you two separate situations because prior to me going to Azusa Pacific, I went to Jackson State. You already
I'm gonna
know
leave
that.
Black College for
And
the people
out
who don't
there,
know.
yeah, it's in Jackson, Mississippi. It's the best HBCU out there, but also, um, racism is still a force out there to be reckoned with. I'm gonna put it that way. And the racism out there is way different than the racism out here. Back here in California, that stuff could be something as far as you not getting a job versus the next man. Out there, they're a little bit more bold and in your face with it. Um, Here's an example. When I was out there in Jackson, my freshman year, I was with our cousin Tyler, and I was staying with him for, I want to say it was like Thanksgiving break. Couldn't go back home, so I'm staying the whole week with them out at their house. We're dropping off his little sister Amanda, and she's not that little. She like 17, but me and him were like 19 at the time. We drop her off, and she works at the Wendy's. She works at Wendy's. That's around the corner from the house. And as we're dropping her off, we go to the gas station, and Tyler hops out, goes inside, pays for whatever. I hop out, I start filling up the tank. But there was a truck, and there was 3 white men that pulled up right behind us, at the pump right behind us. Nobody got out the car at all. They were just looking at us. They were talking amongst themselves, looking at us. And the second we pulled off, they pulled off too. So I told Tyler, once we pulled off, I'm like, hey, these cats behind us, they never, ever hopped out the car. They never got gas. Nobody even got a candy bar. So he looked back, and he was like, all right, I'm going to go inside of the shopping center. So we're going into the shopping center, and we're literally doing zigzags up and down the aisle of the parking lot, and they're following us the whole entire time. And we pull up into a drive-through, act like we ordered something, and then pulled off and left them in the drive-through because they actually ordered something. But it was the simple fact we were being followed by 3 white men, and us being young black 18, 19-year-olds, and these guys were well into their mid-30s, and it was just wild because I already experienced certain incidences out here in California, but out there in Mississippi, they were in your face with it. They don't care, and that's the part of it where you have to kind of be careful, be aware of your surroundings. And I want to say an example out here is probably just dealing with the police. LAPD is still the biggest gang out here, and that's what people don't know. I've gotten pulled over and harassed a few times, and luckily enough, you weren't there, but it was right after our cousin just buried his grandmother, and we're leaving the funeral. We're trying to link up with the cousins, and we're going to see a movie. This is the first time all the cousins are, unfortunately, because of the circumstances, but this is the first time we've all been together in a long, long time. So everybody's going to the movies. Me, Tay, You know, for those of you who don't know, Tay is our cousin, and his younger brother Jacoby,
Yep.
which is also our cousin. So we're riding in the car, and we're headed to the movies, and we get pulled over by the police. And literally, as the police are coming out the car, three of them step out the car. One approached the driver. Well, two approach the driver's side of the window. One approaches the passenger side. I'm on the passenger side, and their guns were drawn. Before they even said anything to us, we had one officer. The typical license, registration, yada yada yada. But the other dude who was on my side of the car, and the second officer that was on the driver's side of the car, both had their guns out of their holsters, and they weren't pointed up to the car or anything like that, but they were out their holsters, and they were holding them so casually like it was a cell phone. And we were like, we have a fifth, sixth grader in the back seat. What are you guys having your guns drawn for? We don't know who's in the car. This certain neighborhood, you guys look like, just profiling us because we're in an older vehicle, and they think that. And honestly, I don't think that's cool at all. Because it's like I said, typically it's usually one officer that asks you, how you doing, license, registration is the reason why I pulled you over. And none of that stuff took place.
Yeah.
By the end of that whole situation, Tay got arrested and spent the night in jail. And me and my cousin Jacoby were in zip ties while all that stuff went down and happened. And eventually after, they went ahead and hauled off with our cousin Tay, I was able to go ahead and talk to the officer and keep the vehicle and make sure our youngest, Jacoby, he was okay. Our youngest cousin
Yeah.
and Tay's younger brother was okay. So it was just, little things like that. And I've got pulled over by police, and the first thing they've asked, me and Tay, just being together, what type of bullshit jobs you working? Like, huh? Excuse me? How are you doing, officer? Like little things like that. So out here it's different. It's like that. But out in Mississippi, they're a little bit more in your face. But I've definitely had my encounters, and I want to say like the way I would deal with it is like I kind of deal with it as it presents itself. I don't take too kindly to it. And the second I sense that, I get very hostile.
Okay. So, as I mentioned to the audience before, the way I structured these questions, they kind of bounce off of one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the Black Lives Matter movement, it was established in 2013 as a way to, show, the injustice blacks go through.
Mm-hmm.
Not just with, police, but just with the justice system as a whole. So the question is, as an African American, how do you feel about the Black Lives Matter movement? Do you feel like the movement helps with the injustice we go through, or do you think like they just show when they need to show, in terms of? Because I mean, if we're being realistic here, yes, we go through injustice with the police and the justice system. But statistically, and you know this, and I know this, we, as blacks, kill more of our own than the police do. Not saying that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like trying to justify the police or anything. I'm just being honest. I mean, it's wrong that the police kill, add to the statistic. They either throw us in jail or they put a bullet in us. But what I'm trying to ask is the Black Lives Matter movement actually helping? Is it helping in the sense of helping like African Americans as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they coming into like neighborhoods where they need help, where they know that, hey, this neighborhood is, shooting each other up because you're wearing the wrong colors? Or are they just helping when a black man gets shot by the police?
I feel like it's helping overall. I'm gonna definitely say that. I feel like it helps overall, and it's definitely moving and bringing awareness in a positive direction as far as everybody else who isn't, black.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we still could take it up a notch. I feel like we can go ahead and still do better, and there's work that we still can do to improve things, get more people involved, and stuff like that. But overall, I feel like besides it moving into a positive direction, yeah, I just feel like it can elevate. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So you, you wrapped that up pretty quick. So for the next question, when we look at the murder of George Floyd, who died March 25th, 2020, and Breonna Taylor, who died March 13th, 2020, by police officers, and just overall, all the people who have, been killed by police officers who have been black, do you feel like African Americans are targeted by the police?
Absolutely.
And why
I
is that?
say that I feel not just African Americans, just specifically, I feel like it's all minorities. Because I feel like, first of all, kind of piggybacking on the last question too, I feel like, yeah, we do it to ourselves, but I feel like we do it to ourselves because they've given us the weapons and the tools to destroy ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like, there should be no reason why, in what they like to call urban neighborhoods, there's more liquor stores, more smoke shops than there are grocery stores. We have more McDonald's on a corner in an urban neighborhood than we would have, something that would be a little bit healthier.
There's also more heavy police presence in those rural areas.
And that's what I'm saying
versus,
too.
We live in Lakewood.
Yeah.
Well, technically Long Beach. Yeah. I don't claim Lakewood.
But it's just like, even still, we could take it back to that brief time we were staying at Auntie's house on the north side, know. And that right there, little did we know it, and that was a hot spot. And that's a very active place in North Long Beach. And still,
we walked outside.
Played
we walked outside. There was
like normal
cops.
kids.
There's. I don't remember, not seeing a cop.
And that's what I'm saying. So I'm like,
I don't know why I just started
the presence.
Player, but we don't ignore that.
No, but overall, it's like you said, the presence is a lot more felt in those neighborhoods. So I feel like the police are targeting us, but I feel like they're doing it out of fear, and us overall, we don't have a problem, but we're getting sick and tired of it. And that fear that non-minorities have of the minorities, that breeds hatred. It really does breed that hatred. And in response to that, I feel like, as a reaction for us, a knee-jerk reaction for us, is that hatred back. We're getting fed up with, you guys killing our young, in the streets with police and even stuff that's going on, like, in the South. What's up with it being, 20 whatever, and we still have hangings and lynchings going on?
Yeah.
The KKK is still present. Like, if you really want to do something, disband that. We can sit up and we could protest peacefully with misspelled signs, but you guys could raid the White House and get away with it.
Damn.
Exactly my point.
So this is a sidebar question. When the George Floyd, I said George Ford. Sorry, forgive me. when the George Floyd movement was going on, how did you feel about the lootings and riotings? Did you agree with the lootings and riotings, or because my thought personally, when I saw the looting and rioting, I was thinking, what the hell are we doing? Personally, because I didn't agree with that. I agree, with the whole march. I agree with standing. Right. I agree with fighting. But when you go around destroying businesses, mom and pop shops, I think that is going overboard. I feel like that had nothing to do with the murder, but I personally, and forgive me for saying this, but I feel like people were just being too damn ignorant.
To a certain extent, I'll agree with you.
And the reason why I say this is because all these people were just stealing left and right. And for the audience, they know
No, I've seen the videos.
yeah, in the podcast that I just had with Ray, me and Ray work for asset protection at Walmart. So when we see these people looting and well, not rioting, but looting, it's just like, what the hell are you doing? It just becomes more about yourself than more about the fact that somebody, they're marching. They may be throwing buses over, lighting things on fire. But when you start stealing, I think you're just an idiot.
I mean, one thing I'll say about like the whole rioting and looting is that I don't agree with it. I don't agree with destroying anything. I've never believed violence is the answer. But if it's a last resort, then hey, I understand that. But one thing I will say is that the rioting, I do understand it. People are outraged, and they did it out of retaliation. You don't want to hear us being peaceful, so now we're going to get violent. I would go ahead. This is before both of our times, but I would say go back to the riots that were here in L.A. They did
Rodney
that.
King.
Exactly.
And you want to flip a school bus over,
Come on now.
A city bus?
We try to play
I'm
your
for
game.
it, but
we try to play your rules, and now these guys are clear as day in the wrong, and you still looked us in the face and said that they were right.
Yeah.
Do you think we're gonna? Do you honestly think we're gonna humbly accept that? I understand it, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, it for me, it's just the looting was just the things that it irritated me because I was like, there's no reason to steal.
Yeah, people could die off of that. That's why I'm like, I don't agree with it, but I understand what the message was.
Yeah. All right. Wow, this is going a lot faster than Ray's. Going into the fourth question. So when we look at the justice system, let's take the death of Trayvon Martin in 2012. In 2012, on February 26th, Trayvon Martin was a 17-year-old boy, and he died at the hands of George Zimmerman. About a year later, George Zimmerman was acquitted of all charges. And for the people who don't know what acquitted means, it means all charges were dropped. I probably should have said that part with Ray. I apologize. But
you didn't know what that meant.
No, I knew what it meant.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
I didn't.
You the criminal justice major,
I
man.
have to
Go easy on Ray,
I
bro.
didn't have to Google that one. But so, in your opinion, do you think that the justice system is necessarily against African Americans? So don't think of necessarily Trayvon Martin. It was just one of the first things that came to me because his death hit home. Because it was more so, you were more so towards his age at that time. You probably a little bit older. I was more so coming up in that age. Yeah. So it was like, it just hit home because of the age.
I think he was a little bit older than me when he passed.
Yeah.
I think it was like a year or two.
Yeah, so you were that age. Yeah. I was coming into that age, so it was just like,
something weird like that.
Yeah, so it was just like his death just hit home. Yeah. Because that could easily have been you, me, or just somebody else.
That could have been easily anybody we knew.
So yeah. So you don't necessarily have to think of Trayvon Martin, but I picked that one personally. So in your opinion, do you think that the justice system is against African Americans? And taking in mind that African Americans and Hispanics do rank in the highest of people who are incarcerated. I think African Americans have Hispanics beat by just a little bit.
Yeah, we do have them beat just barely over the edge. I feel like I want to say it's not necessarily against us. I want to say per se out to get us, just plain as day cheat codes for the other team or anything like that. But I will say it does benefit people that aren't minorities heavily. Certain rules don't apply when it comes to people who aren't minorities. You can go ahead and have two separate people, one who's a minority and who isn't, and they can commit the same crime. And I guarantee you 9 times out of 10 that the minority is going to get the book thrown at them. And the person who isn't a minority is probably just going to get a slap on the wrist with some community service. And that right there, I think, is complete and utter BS. And that's what I feel like the justice system is seriously flawed.
I mean, a few Caucasian people have been caught either shooting up a school or walking down, the
And you
middle
want
of
to
a
say it's a
street
mental
with
illness and you want to get them treatment. But if we did that, you'd probably give us the chair. Little things like that.
If we make it to the chair.
That's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying.
I mean, not an African American. I forgot what state it was, but I know people gonna know what I'm talking about. When that man was walking down the street with what was it, an AR? So
that's some real Grand Theft Auto mess, man.
Yeah, so it's just like I feel like it depends on what race you are.
Yeah,
and honestly, no, it just depends on what race you are, because you may get treated very differently.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like I felt like if you were African American or Hispanic, you probably wouldn't have made it anywhere. You probably would have been shot on sight if you.
It's to a point now where it's like, even today, I'm gonna speak for myself, me personally.
Mm-hmm.
It's to a point now with everything that's been going on, with the names that you just said and everything we see in the news, our experiences growing up. It's to a point now where it's like, every time I see a cop car, I don't even feel safe. You're supposed to protect us, right? Why is it the second I see a cop car, that black and white vehicle, whether it's behind me, on the side of me, across the intersection from me, wherever, even parked at the donut shop, why is it that my first instinct is anger? That's the first emotion that I feel is anger. And that anger is out of that fear. Because whenever you guys stop to talk to me, I'm literally heart pumping, racing for my life. Because this can go left or it can go right. And I'm just hoping that it goes right and I can go home. However small it is, they could stop me just to tell me that, hey, your tire looks kind of flat. But it's the simple fact that a badge is stopping me and walking up to my car. I don't know what's going down because it's so unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. I can't trust you to keep me safe because you sitting up here, you're coming at me for what? I don't know. It just doesn't agree with me. That's what I'm saying. It's fear and it's anger that comes to me. I don't feel safe trusting, talking to a cop, nor would I want to see one. And that's regardless of the way I look. I can come clean cut as they could be, or I can be, suited and booted with a hoodie just like Trayvon. And either way, it's just, like I said, that's kind of where I'm at with mine. It's just anger and fear.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, for question 5, do you think that the relationship between officers and African Americans will change, or do you think that there will always be a fear factor towards police for African Americans?
If it does change, I feel like it won't happen in our lifetime. We would not live to see it, and I can say that with full confidence. It's been so consistent, and it's been a certain way even before we were even born, and it's still like that to this day. The only difference is that technology is enhanced, and we can see it up close, and in HD, I want to say. Like, it's everywhere now, Back then, let's take it back to, Rodney King. Somebody got it on video, but that was the 90s.
Yeah.
It's 2021. And all of this stuff is happening more and more frequently. Why is this happening more and more infrequently with law enforcement and minorities even right now? If you guys want to do something to stop it, you need to start at the top, because talking about it, having rallies about it at stations, that's not helping. It's not helping at all.
Do you think any changes can be made in terms of trying to help, or do you think it's just embedded too much?
No, I feel like, you just need the right people, right people in the right positions. If you have good people with good intentions trying to do good things, it tends to work out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like you just need the right people in the right seat. You can't sit up here and, have somebody who I would want to say is trying to go ahead and win your vote just to look good and then not care about you after they got it. And I'm not talking about anybody specifically or anything of the sort. I'm just simply saying that the people who have the power to change it are the people in suits.
Yeah.
And those tend to be people who are not minorities.
So as of right now, you pretty much think that there's too much hate in the world?
Uh, I I feel like it's just too much. I feel like it's too much fear and hate.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the fear that comes first. You know, it's a fear factor. They set up like I forgot where I read this from. It was some type of article I did with one of my assignments, but it was about gangs in Compton.
Mm-hmm.
And the early gangs in Compton were white gangs trying to keep black teens in order. That should say a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's in Compton. That's supposed to be gang capital of the USA, right? The first gang was a white gang trying to keep us in order because we were moving into that neighborhood and white people were moving out. So I feel like it's the fear. You know, you can't control us.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to do something about it since you can't control us. And our thing is that we're minding our business.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be controlled, but we're not bothering you either.
Okay. So that kind of concludes the podcast project. But what I want people to understand is that please do not take offense to Ray or Blair's opinions. These are just opinions of.
Please don't.
Yeah.
This is just me. This is
Yeah.
how I feel about it, okay? Don't crucify me.
We just gotta understand that everybody we live different lives. It doesn't matter what color you are. It's just the path you walk in life.
Different
we
experiences.
all live different lives, go through different experiences. Do not take what they say to heart. Believe what you want to believe, but I do ask that people keep an open mind. I mean, I know there's a lot of closed-minded people, but do keep an open mind. Do like, you know, if you hear something that you've heard on this podcast, I mean,
There's two sides to every story.
yeah, like, like if you hear something that you don't like agree with on the podcast or whatever the case may be, you can obviously, you know, Google it for yourself or, you know, do your own research, but don't come after the guest. You guys probably got an idea which way I side with when you hear my responses to their questions. But personally, I don't really have a problem with the police. I grew up pretty, you know, safe for that aspect. And like I said in Ray's podcast, me and Ray, you know, working with asset protection, we have to deal with the police pretty much on a daily basis. So I haven't seen that bad side. I mean, knock on wood. Hopefully I never do. But
Hopefully.
just keep an open mind. These are people who are both African American, who both have different experiences. You can clearly tell Blair's experiences are very different from Ray's experiences. So based off of how they're both raised and based on like the experiences that they went through just going about everyday life. So keep an open mind and stay cool. It's hot.
Try to stay cool.
So thank y'all
It's even hot now.
and see you later.